get started here officially. It's January the 7th, 2016. This is the collective bargaining session between Pasco County and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 79. I'm Jim Sheriff.
Barbara Hitzman.
Kevin Fulford.
Representing the union, John Schultes.
James Boucher.
Thomas Longman.
Doug Heck.
Ed Seizik, Utilities.
Okay. Just before we went on the record, we handed out a revised Article 53, which we do want to discuss in the context of the other open articles.
Any way we sit.
Anywhere we want.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Pam Arias.
Hi, Pam.
Kevin, we know each other.
For a while.
New bargaining team members?
No, they're the public, they got to
Oh,
come
okay,
back there.
all right.
So you can election on us, I meant to pay.
No, I just wanted to know whether to have
Oh,
them
okay.
acknowledge themselves on the record or not. They can sit wherever they like.
We have them sign in?
What's that?
Yeah, it was in the box.
No, but they're
Oh,
signing.
they got it, okay.
They don't.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, you don't need to sign in,
Need to sign in.
just the members of the bargaining teams to sign.
All right, well, I received your email with the packet that we're going to be using today. And, to be quite honest, I haven't had the most amount of time to be able to review it, except for starting this morning. I've been heavily bargaining with several different employers and grievance hearings peppered in here and there too. But I did start going through it, and I think I got up to probably about halfway through, and I'm prepared to stay here as long as I can today to just get everything that we can TA on a new document TA. A lot of the stuff that's in there has already been TA, but
Right.
in a form where there's several articles on one page. And I noticed that you broke them out independently.
Right, and I actually made 3 stacks so that like this stack that I have is just all the ones that we totally agreed to already that just need the TAs on the bottom. So if you want to do that, you can compare obviously and make sure that I didn't miss them, or that I have them all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whatever we TA already is going to be TA together.
Right.
And hopefully we can move forward with getting some stuff cleaned up.
Right, and then I also did the second stack. I don't know if you have them broken down by stacks. If not, I
No,
can
I
give
just
them
got
to you.
one stack.
Okay, let me give you 1, 2, and 3 so that you have them the way I have them. So this is the stack that we've already TA'd. That's already been TA'd, and there's been no further changes because of course we had a couple articles that we TA'd but that we've made changes to. This stack represents the ones that I think that we're pretty much in agreement on, but we haven't officially TA'd them. So, and the only verbiage change in any of the TA, like the ones that we've already TA'd, are in Article 20.
I was just listening, the exact one I was looking at, I was like, I could have sworn I've seen some changes in 20. I just happened to open the page and.
No, Article 20, actually the only change that I made is I just added the word "or designee" to,
I thought there was something new regarding the arbitration hearings in section step 3U, which I don't agree with.
well, no, actually, I didn't change anything like that. All I did was say, all I simply did was say ACA or designee. So that was, so on page 28, or designee is just new language. If it was in color, you'd see it in red.
What I'm talking about is on page 7, well, this is the original document. It's Article 20,
Mhm.
Step 3,
Mhm.
letter U.
Letter U.
Former, or the current letter U.
Oh.
You don't have letters in there anymore, but anyway, what that addresses is when arbitrability is raised by the county with respect to any grievance, the issue of arbitrability shall be determined by the arbitrator, period. Where the current language reads, you added on, or somebody added on, no less than 30 days prior to commencement of a hearing. That's new, according to my records, and that's something that, I don't find acceptable. So I get a little bit nervous when when things are underlined.
I didn't add that, so that had to have been TA'd prior to, me getting here. Because I have never discussed that language, nor am I familiar with the language, so.
Well, I'll say this much, and I don't disagree, I don't know who's responsible for it, but the one we TA'd on 9/16
Right,
doesn't have that in it. So somebody added it in somewhere. I'm assuming it was a proposal that, somehow, just believe it through.
okay, that's bizarre. 'Cause that one, like I said, was TA'd by, when I got here, and I haven't done anything to that one.
We can blame it on Jim, that's fine.
I don't know about that.
Actually, why don't we blame it on the lady who's not here, who used to be here? And the law writer is no longer.
Yeah, we'll just say she typed it. But the only word I added was designated, or designated, and that was only in step one. So, just in case I can't get an ACA.
Well, if you go back to the current contract, under article, which was then 18, right? I'm looking at this, the initial and signed collective bargaining agreement that on page 1 said April 2014.
I'm looking at the contract.
Okay. But if you go to, I'm looking at step 3, arbitration. It says when arbitrability is raised by the county with respect to any grievance, the issue of arbitrability shall be determined by the arbitrator no less than 30 days prior to the commencement of an arbitration hearing on the written grievance.
Well, what we agreed to on the 20th.
I thought we agreed to stay with the status quo.
Yeah, that was the status quo article.
Yeah. So we just reverted back to the status quo language.
And the reason for it is because of the concern of having a hearing before a hearing. Who's going to determine the 30-day? The arbitrator is going to have to be reviewing the facts, which is going to require a hearing. Right?
But limited to the issue of arbitrability, which usually is an issue of the timeliness of it or.
I understand that, but again, what we agreed to, what we signed off on, what we TA'd on, you're saying was a status quo, I'm saying well, it's not, because I'm reading it. It doesn't have the hearing before the hearing this year, and I know that, you remember having that discussion about the hearing before the hearing? In other words, the concern of, okay, if we're gonna have an arbitrability, question of whether we can even arbitrate the grievance, it says it shall be determined no less than 30 days prior to the commencement of the arbitration hearing on the grievance itself. So that lends to the concept of having a hearing before the hearing. And, all I know is a proposal that we TA'd, on this day, it was 9/16 didn't have the hearing before the hearing language in there, so we're changing
Yeah, well, our intent was to go back to the status quo. If that was a mistake, it was a mistake, so. To the extent that we need to go, revert to the status quo language, we will withdraw our TA on that article. It makes sense to determine arbitrability ahead of time. It's cost savings.
Well, cost savings is having a bifurcated hearing, and you do it all in one day, that's cost savings. A hearing before the hearing, how could that possibly be the cost savings? You're talking about $1,000 a day times 2.
No, because it can be determined by submission of written briefs.
Okay, so we have a dispute, we're going on arbitration. The county says, union, we can't arbitrate that. That's
You
not-
didn't file the time. Let's use that as the
Okay,
example.
there's a time on this issue, a dispute, we say, oh, yeah, we are trying to say, well, no, you're not. So what do? We strike arbitrators that hear the case regardless, right? Panel, we get a panel.
We select an arbitrator. Okay, we tell the arbitrator there's an issue of arbitrability regarding the timeliness of it. We submit the written documentation to him or her, and the arbitrator says, I think it's timely. Let's set the regular hearing.
Okay, it's just submitted, there's no oral arguments, there's no presentation of evidence.
You
there's
submit
no-
your written
there's no
position on
hearing.
it. It's very efficient.
I've never, my experiences are that when there's a challenge of arbitrability at the hearing, that when asked, or even if not asked, either party would present the procedural defects that they believe why they shouldn't even be here. And they're voiced and expressed at that time, and then there's a request made to have a bifurcated hearing, or you frame the issue in having two different subjects, two different issues. One is whether we can even arbitrate this grievance, and then once we get past that, then we hear the grievance on the merits, and then when the arbitrator goes back to the delivery, we're tackling the first issue, and may not even get to the second issue, which is the same thing, only that arbitrator who's going to be receiving the briefs is not going to work for free, right?
Of course not. All right, let's not belabor that particular point. Let's see what the other issues are and see how that falls into it.
Well, and I'll tell you, my experience has been that we show up at the hearing and we have an issue of arbitrability, and the arbitrator will generally say, all right, well, I'll take that under advisement and I'll hear both cases, and they never bifurcate their hearing. They actually make the hearing go forward, and that is really a pain, because if the side isn't prepared to do that, because, you know, so I'm with Jim, I think the written brief is the better way to handle it, because I've never had an arbitrator take the arbitrability issue separate from the other issue. They'll always say, okay, I'll hear it, but I'm gonna hear both at the same time.
Well, if you frame the issue that this is going to be a bifurcated hearing specifically, and say, Mr. Arbitrator, if you can't get past the arbitrability question, then you are not to consider the merits. And so if your experiences are that that's never gone your way, then maybe you didn't have a strong enough argument.
No, it's not that it's never gone my way, it's that they've never bifurcated the hearing, they've never set this up a hearing, they've said, I'll hear the arguments all together, they've never agreed to hear it. They're saying, well, I'm here already, so I'm gonna hear both cases, despite the fact that we wanted to hear one first, you know, and
Well,
I don't, you know,
You
like, I don't
didn't
understand
hear-
that, but.
You didn't hear the reason why one party is challenging the arbitrability at the beginning of the hearing?
No.
Well, I blame whoever the advocates were, because, I mean, it's standard, it's not an unusual scenario. You just say, listen, if the arbitrator says duly noted, county, you dispute the arbitrability, go on, you can present your case. I would say, excuse me, Mr. Arbitrator, you're not listening to us. The case is, we have to determine arbitrability. I'm the moving party with the challenge of arbitrability. You're gonna hear my case first, and then when we're done flushing all that out, then we'll move on to the merits of the case, and then the beginnings of the party. But, you know, I'm with Jim, if you wanna just put this on the shelf, that's fine, but that's what the concern is.
just consider it an open issue, and we'll see what we could package up together.
All right. So I don't have the separate, this is your second packet?
Yeah,
of things
yeah.
that I think we're close to.
I think that we've agreed on, but, yeah, it's.
Let me make one suggestion,
somewhat
because
back.
we had a new proposal on Article 53, and some of your members who just came in don't have a copy of it, we didn't make that many copies today. Let me talk about what our sole change to that proposal is from our last proposal.
Well, let's just, if you don't mind, everybody who's on the union side has the proposal packet. It's still Article 53, it's just that there's an additional paragraph at the end which.
I'll read it, and then I'll explain what the purpose of it is that I know there's been some issue with respect to the shuttle system from time to time for moving employees around. So as part of our wage proposal, we've added a provision for a transportation surcharge, and it's effective on implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. Employees who participate in the transportation shuttle system will be surcharged $30 per week to be deducted from wages. And that's to offset the cost to the county of operating that system, which was originally a pilot program, as you know, and then took hold and just continued on after the pilot period expired. And of course, the price of gasoline has fluctuated in that particular time period. It's probably more efficient, more cost-effective for employees to travel on their own rather than through the shuttle. But in any event, we see it as a component of the wage aspect. It's easier to collect it through payroll than in any other manner.
So basically, you're gonna start charging them, whereas they would just drive it back and forth. Is that what this basically means?
So the
It's their
employees that
option,
ride-
it's the employee's option.
Yeah.
If they don't want to ride the shuttle, they don't have to ride the shuttle, and they don't have to absorb the $30 per week surcharge.
Okay, but what I was meaning was something they did get, but now you're gonna charge them $30 a week.
Yes, that's right.
Right, yeah, in lieu of stopping the shuttle, because that was the, conversation was to terminate the shuttle.
So basically, something else the employees got that they're not gonna get, basically what it boils down to.
It's a $30 per week surcharge that they
Yeah.
were not previously required to pay.
Well, I'll answer for the county, yes.
Well, thank you. We're pretty used to that. We're used to that from your side of the
Well, I
table.
think the reason that it started was because gas prices were over $4 a gallon at the
Well,
time.
they
It
are
was
$4 a
starting-
gallon now. But they may be,
Excuse me?
they're not $4 a gallon
Right,
now.
exactly. And that's our point, because if you read the pilot program, it was started for the sole purpose because gas was so expensive. So it's not expensive anymore. Gas is actually historically at its lowest point it's been since the 70s if you look at
Right.
inflation. So
Right.
we don't really feel the need to offer the shuttle anymore. So I know the department is considering stopping the shuttle, and so, you know, in lieu of stopping it, if employees still want to participate in it, then, you know, it's not efficient.
Didn't the county send out a memo a couple of years ago about promoting ride sharing? That they were very interested in ride sharing and the county wanted to promote the ride sharing?
Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
well,
wasn't there, so.
you should know, right?
Doesn't ring a bell, but
Okay.
there's separate rideshare programs like van pools that are outside the county's.
No, that was one,
might have
that
been-
was, yes, that was one thing they were talking about, but, basically, I think Barbara sent out the memo, and it said, try to get up with people you work with at the same site, and, you know, Kevin drives one week, you
Right.
drive the
Yeah, that would
next
be
week.
fine. And that doesn't cost us anything,
That's a
obviously.
personal
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, but
personal
that,
vehicle.
you promoted ride sharing, we have ride sharing, why are you taking it away?
We're not taking it
Well,
away.
I understand, okay, we're not taking it away.
We're taking it away as a freebie.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, it was started for the sole purpose, because gas prices were high, it was, you know, we recognize the burden. It's not a burden on employees now with gas prices where they are, so it's not a.
What happens if the gas price will go back up?
Then we'll
We
invest
initiate
again.
it
Well,
again?
we'll certainly talk about it again, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just not an issue that it was before. The purpose was for the high gas prices.
Well, you know, $50 an hour, so, you know, we're all living high on the hog.
Just so I understand a few things about the shuttle. How many shuttles are there?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
I think there's one, goes from Embassy to Seaborn, right?
But there's more, at least.
No, I think there was only one that went from Embassy to Seaborn.
The only reason I think there was more is because, or I thought there was more.
Well, when you handled that grievance, so you might be right.
And there was another shuttle that was continuing, and that was part of the argument that why was one shuttle shut down and the other one wasn't. Not to say that since then something's changed, but anyway, as far as you know, Doug, it's Embassy to where? Seaborn?
Seaborn.
And if no one else.
Does
but
the road
Doug-
committee have one too?
Was that?
Does the road committee have one too? Tommy Russell?
That's the one Tommy.
Seaborn is,
Yeah.
Seaborn is road and bridge.
The
or-
Freeman committee might have it.
All right, if no one on the county side can answer, Doug, does anybody know how many people go on the shuttle? And is this, first question is, what is a shuttle? Is it just a crew cab pickup truck?
No, it's like one of his buses, right?
Oh.
Jim, one of the
We
handicap
don't,
buses?
we don't use any of ours.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know what you're using.
No, I think it's just like a crew cab or a van.
And my next question is if it's a crew cab or if it's a bunch of crew cabs, aren't they going there anyway? Because that's what I thought, you know, it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense that whether one person driving a crew cab or just 5 people squeezing in there, is that what the shuttle is considered? Or is it?
I think it's transporting people to work, so I would imagine that it has to be earlier than, there has to be somebody that's there, a person.
I thought it was going from one side of the county to the other side of the county.
Well, it is, but to get people to work on time.
It's not like, I mean, I don't know it's not like people can pick up at the door or something like that. I mean,
I'm not really sure, but I think, like he said, it's a county employee that actually works at Seaborn that puts all of these people either in a van or their crew cab pickup and then have to go to Seaborn anyway.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's. I'm
People
thinking
reporting to
that's-
work at Embassy.
Yes.
And so it's like they're reporting to work at Embassy, and then they're all going to work at Seaborn, or at least on that side of the county. And that's the reason why the Powell and the Shelton going, it's more than just this big courtesy.
Well, I don't know, I mean, according to the department, it's becoming a hardship, so I don't know why they would feel that way if that was simply the issue, so it's the department
How
that's
is it
expressing.
becoming a hardship if fuel's cheaper than it was? It can't be monetarily, right? I mean, if it's.
Well, I think it's a matter of workload, unfortunately. Right now, they've got a lot of workload, they want to dedicate the people to something else, so I don't know, I mean, I like I said, the department had mentioned it to me, you know, months ago, 2 months ago probably. You know, and they have said that it's an issue. I can find out further why, I don't know the
I was
answer.
just
But I don't
trying-
think there's very many people riding it, but they have this obligation to get them to work on time, so I don't, you know, I mean, they're,
I don't think it's a matter of getting someone to work on time as much as it is a convenience that they've enjoyed as a past practice. I will say this though, if you guys were a little bit more willing to agree to our seniority proposal on where people can bid on where they work, then we'd probably be more inclined to agree to something like this, you know, where I don't have the ability to bid on an opening on the side of the county that I want to bid on, and so, but, you know, that's just, I'm just throwing that out there. But we'll take a look at it and consider it.
I got a question on wages and salaries. Nowhere do I see a proposal on confined space, extra money for confined space. We brought that up a couple of months ago, and there's no mention of it anywhere. Did you turn it down?
If it's not in here, it's rejected.
Okay. Now, since it's a hazard to people's lives, do the people have the option to reject going into the hole?
They don't,
Why not?
because it's a job assignment that they can't
But it's a
reject.
physical hazard for them to go into that hole.
they don't have to accept that job.
Okay,
It's
so
in
then
each
they
job
don't have to
description.
they don't have to do the confined space.
No, I said that if they agree to a job, it's whatever's in their job description. I mean, certainly they don't have to apply for
But I
a
thought it
job.
was federal law that you are allowed to turn down any job that you deem a hazard to your health.
No, that's not true.
Okay. Then be prepared to get a bunch of medical.
Well, if
for
something
peop-
is
for people.
unsafe, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely unsafe. They have to put a gas meter down in the hole. They can't go in that hole until the gas meter says it's okay. The gas meter goes off while they're still in that hole quite a few times because the gas is overtaking them. They have to get out of that hole immediately before they die. Right, Frank?
It's a fact. Our hazardous duty doesn't add up, I guess, compared to the other people that get hazardous duty pay. You go down into a 42-foot deep hole and you're down in the hole and you start working 5 minutes and the alarms go off and you gotta be yanked back out of it because the gases have went back up again.
Well, each of the jobs is rated for the conditions, so for instance, if you had, you know, you mentioned other hazardous duty, and I'll just take firefighters, for example. You know,
Right.
part of the pay that's built in to each of the positions is the environmental factors that are part of that job. If there were no environmental factors as part of the job would not be rated as high.
Maybe
So-
maybe the supervisor, when they wrote up the original description for the job, never took that into consideration.
Well, then it wouldn't be in the job description, and then we'd have to address that, but I don't think that's the situation you're describing.
Well,
Isn't the
that would make
firefighters
sense if-
separate, isn't their hazardous duty pay separate from their regular pay? I mean, doesn't that break
No.
down somehow?
What job classification is it that people are working in when they're required to go into confined spaces?
Normally plant mechanics.
Maintenance mechanics from 2 and up also, 2
Are
and
there-
3s.
Are there some of them that don't, or that are never required to go into confined
Yes.
spaces?
Yeah, usually utility worker 1s, 2s, 3s probably don't go in the hole, but you gotta be at least a plant mechanic 1 or a plant mechanic 2 to go in the hole. But there may be some occasions where utility worker 3s go in there because they get confined space training too. But it's just that it is truly a hazardous environment, and if you're in there using torches, sometimes it's hot work. I mean, it is very hazardous. But obviously, it's not that hazardous to the county, but it is a hazardous.
When you first raised it, I posed the question and asked if there was any record of any increased risk or claims associated with that type of activity, and the answer was that there was not.
You know what's
research
on it.
that was done.
Yeah.
Well, no, but, like,
No, I didn't say that.
the
I
positions-
said risk or injury.
Well, I'm sure if we went back and probably looked through compensation cases, we would, nobody's going to confined
I just
spaces.
don't think it's an unreasonable proposal that if someone has to get certified to do something, that they're compensated for that extra knowledge.
Well, we are working on a certification pay right now, so the incentive pay, so that possibly could be addressed through there, but that's, you know, a separate committee that's working on that. And I don't know that that hasn't come up there, because we do address certifications, but again, each position, when you look at the pay for each position, one of the components of pay, you know, you look at experience, education, you know, complexity, scope, but one of the most important factors is environmental factors. So you know, if you're saying the plant mechanic has to go down there, it's taken into consideration. And to the extent that it hasn't been, I can tell you that a big part of the King class study that we're doing right now takes into consideration two environmental factors. One is lifting, climbing, you know, things related to physical ability. And the other one is the, you know, flaggers on the side of the road. I mean, you know, you know, I would venture to guess we've had more, you know, injuries related to flagging, you know, because they're standing out in the middle of traffic, you know, so.
And that is a dangerous gig.
It
there's
is,
no doubt about it.
and absolutely, you know, but you're compensated more, believe it or not, in your pay. I mean, it's not that difficult a job, but it's got a component that is environmental. And we take that into consideration when we're rating and ranking those positions. So you should see that built within the base pays because of the job description.
A couple of questions about the proposal. So Article 53's proposal today is identical to one that's previously been proposed, right?
No.
With the exception of the law.
Transportation surcharge.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And with the exception of that, so options 1, 2, and 3 are the same that were last time we were talking.
Oh, yes, but the next part, I added the pay and class component in there, so year 2 is different. Year 2 is the same as I sent you on email, but it is different than what we discussed last time, because since our last bargaining session, we've headed in the direction of a pay and classification study, which I mentioned to you last time, but I incorporated the language into the contract, saying
All right.
that,
Why don't we start with the first section, year 1. Is there any difference in the proposal today and the fact that was emailed from the last time we were bargaining?
no,
Okay, so options 1, 2, and 3 are the same?
correct,
All right. Year 2 has changed?
That's
Since
correct.
the last time we were bargaining?
That's correct.
All right, in year 2, under the heading performance-based pay, which continues on to the second page,
Yes.
is it the county's proposal that there's going to be no input from the union regarding the performance pay program and how it works and how it's designed?
I think that, and I don't know the extent to which there was a pit crew that was formed, that was made up of employees.
I think Frank was on.
Oh, okay, so then the answer is yes, they had input because they were on the pit crew. That is where the recommendations came from.
So the program's already established?
I would say that a lot of the work is already done. We're still tweaking it because we're not gonna be implementing it this year, because this year, in lieu of performance-based pay, it appears that we're doing the pay classification study instead. So, the first year, the county's intent is to implement probably the results of the study, as much as we can afford to do that.
Have they ironed out the bonus situation yet?
They're not going to be, they're gonna take any bonus money that was going to maybe be implemented next year for that and implement the pay study instead is the intent. So there
Okay.
wouldn't be performance-based bonuses in this coming year. And that's basically what this says, but if we do it, you guys will also be in the pool of employees who would earn that, so the contract.
Well, I understand we're gonna be included in the pool, that's what it says, but
Yeah, and to
it
the.
says if during the term of this agreement, the county establishes a performance-based pay program. So I would take that to mean that there isn't one currently.
Yeah, it's the one that's being flushed out by the pit crew that Frank has been on,
Right,
and, yeah.
but, I'm just, my question was, I think I know the answer, but, is this a waiver of the union's ability to bargain over the impact of the performance-based pay program if we agree to this? So we have no ability to bargain over the impact of it?
I would say that if you agreed to that language, you are agreeing to be in the pool and have it administered in the way that employees, other employees would have it administered. So essentially, yes,
It would be a waiver.
I believe that it is.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just, that's not acceptable. I mean, to just say if you decide to establish a performance-based program, Tim says you will be included, but you don't have any say-so in how that translates. I mean, that's agreeing to a blank check in a way that I don't think we're comfortable with.
Well, it's agreeing to a free distribution of money if it's in a pool of money,
Yeah.
without having to bargain over it.
It's a big if, though, big if.
I can
So
tell
what-
you.
essentially what would happen if you want to take the position that we can't impose a waiver on you, which is true, we can't, then your bargaining unit employees would not participate in the pool of funds that are available from a performance system until you negotiate it.
Right.
Jim keeps talking to us about taking this to the people, this to the people. Everybody but these two ladies right here have probably spoken to over 1,000 of our people. Now, when I get a guy that comes to me and says, how can the county waste $320,000 to get $40 back, and they can't give me any more than a 3% raise, what do I tell them?
What are you talking about?
The lady with the water bill. Utilities department wasted $320,000 to get her $40 bill back. What do I tell my people?
Well, I don't even know what you're
I mean,
talking about, but I would
you
suggest.
haven't heard about the lady with the water bill debacle? It's all over Channel 8. We're the popular on Channel 8 News.
The answer to what you tell your people, you need to ask the man sitting next to you, not us.
But it's the county that's wasting the money.
You need to
The
ask,
county still has 400.
you need to ask John how to respond.
All right, okay, well, I'll
us.
ask you. The county still has $4.5 million left over from BP. What are they gonna do with that? The tax collector said we've collected more than $4 million extra in taxes that nobody knew we had. That's gonna be a constant because the tax base has improved. What are we gonna do with that? Why is it always the employees that get shafted?
They're gonna build a new building, Doug.
Well, first of all, you gotta understand too, no, I don't, public, I mean.
No, we're not gonna let
this
the public speak, okay? You wanna take a break, you wanna have her tell you what to tell us,
Right.
that's fine, but we're not gonna let the public speak at a.
They're here in the capacity of.
It's hard to explain though, it's a lot of words.
No, I don't,
Or we can just, on our next break, you can tell us what you want.
We'll relay it for sure.
Certainly will.
the problem with the funds that you're considering is that utility funds, BP funds, these are not general funds or quite frankly, a steady stream of revenue. And
How
you
about
know,
the steady stream of revenue? The tax collector, Mike Wells, said that will be coming in for the next 20 to 30 years because the tax base, I have the article right here in my folder if you'd
Yeah.
like to read it, because the tax base has improved that much in Pasco County.
the tax base is absolutely improving. But you have to understand, in 2005 and 6, if you could see the revenue that came in and now where it is compared to what it is, it's you know, millions, tens of millions of dollars less. Hold on, let me
Okay.
finish. Okay. Right now,
Pay
it
raise
hit,
for 6
in
years.
2012, it hit a historic low, actually 13. It recovered a little in 14, it's recovering in 15. But remember that most of our all of our ad valorem taxes comes from houses, from property taxes.
And that tax comes in whether the house is vacant or not.
That's
You still
correct,
collect the
but
taxes on it.
it never can go up more than the homestead allows on most of the homesteaded properties. And so therefore, it's only 3%. So we never, ever, ever can come up with a formula that is more than 3% above.
And according to Mike Wells,
Well, some
most
of
of
them
our
are, most
tax
of them are.
base now is businesses, not single-family homes.
That's not true. It's 76% approximately that is, you know, most of Pasco County's tax base is residential.
And we know the money's for low, because we didn't get no raises for 6 years, you remember how tight it was.
Right.
Yeah, the whole debate is on the workers feeling like they're just not getting a fair slice of the pie.
I'll find it for you.
And we're absolutely, like I said, the intent of the wage study that we're doing this year is to address those issues. We understand that wages are trying to go up. For the last 6 years, they haven't. I mean, other than last year. Last year was the first year that the county
Why did the
took in more-
firefighter get 5%?
They didn't get a raise last year. They stayed within budget. They budgeted 5 last year and 3 this year. That's what they got. So, I mean, we gave
So
them a raise.
they got a total of 8%.
For the
for the last 2
2 years.
years.
For 2, yes.
We got a
yes.
total of 3 for 2 years.
Well, you haven't, you've been offered, obviously, 3 and haven't agreed to the 6 yet, but the firefighters, we essentially did a market study, which is essentially what we're doing with with the rest of the employees this year. If you agree to it, that's what you'll see next year. So
Like my marketing, we do marketing study is fine, but everybody sitting at this table goes to the same gas station the firefighters do. They say that pay the same electric bill that the firefighters do. They shop at the Publix, the firefighters do. So, are everybody at this table gonna see 5%, like the firefighters got?
we did a market study and brought the firefighters up to market. That's what we're proposing to do for the rest of the county employees this coming year. So to answer your question, we're employing the same methodology for all of the rest of the county employees.
Answering my questions, you can't decide right now, or give me an answer right now. We, after doing the market study and realized that just about 1,200 people in our bargaining unit are nothing but blue collar workers and dig holes, you'll say, oh, okay, here's 2%, bone for you guys.
Well, that's your opinion. I disagree.
Who else thinks the same way?
Well,
I mean, we've got nothing but bones in our last 3 contracts.
I think
We
it's
get
great
to
that you're
scratch.
taking on the study that you're gonna do. I mean, it really needs to be done, because a lot of people got the shaft last time with the Cody study. But the key there is even what it says here that in this paperwork, that let's say you do the study and you see where there's a lot of areas that need addressing, the county can still turn down what you find, correct?
Absolutely, the
Okay.
county will,
So
can
there you
absolutely,
go.
the Board of County Commissioners is the budget maker, but I do suspect, I mean, I'm a little bit optimistic because again, as you point out, there's a lot of new construction out there. We're not gonna get a huge windfall, and quite frankly, for the 6 or 7 years that we continued operations, our revenues fell, and I wish I had the numbers with me because I could tell you how drastically they fell, but the county continued operations. We didn't have that many layoffs, I'm sure I wasn't here, so I'm sure we had a few, but the reality is we dipped into reserves in a major way, over that period of time. Those reserves also have to be paid back, so as our revenue stream builds up, we have to build our reserves up, and we'll have money for operations.
Since you brought it up, what's the reserve balance now?
I don't have it.
How do you know it's low, and how do you know they gotta replenish it? I mean, what are we talking about? How many millions of dollars are we talking about? I know the reserve fund is in the millions, several millions.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's supposed to be a quarter of your operating budget, which is a $1.3 billion.
And I'm not trying to call you out on it, but if you're gonna start making statements.
Well,
like
no,
that-
I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you that I was just at a presentation by the budget director where he actually pointed out, here's where the reserves were, here's where they are, and here's what, the plan is going to be.
And it's just a matter of, you're not gonna get the county commissioners are not gonna get a whole lot of sympathy from the workers who actually do the work of the county, that, hey, our $40 million reserve balance dipped down to 30 million crisis, so we're only gonna give you a 3% because we've got to replenish that $10 million that we're never gonna use anyway.
Well, that's not true. I mean, look at all the flooding that has occurred in Pasco County, and you guys are right out there, and you see all the flooding that's occurred, and millions and millions and millions of dollars out of reserves have gone to that flooding, and we're not getting any of that money back.
And again, what about our people who don't make enough money to even buy a house to get flooded? Because we're not getting the money that we deserve.
And the commissioners took $2.5 million from the BP fund to help pay for that.
Where did that go? Where did the VP fund money go?
It's
Jim,
going
you
for the
asked us to
roads.
Take the proposal back to our people and ask them about it. We did. They haven't got we're working without
Okay.
a contract right now since September 30th.
No, we're not.
So you got October,
No, we're not.
November, December.
No.
Well, all right.
We're working under an extension of the current contract.
But since September 30th, they didn't take the 3%. So that money's in the bank. It's building interest, right?
No, it doesn't work that way, you know that.
Well, it goes up somehow, you haven't paid out yet.
No, let's reverse the argument in that regard, okay? What the bargaining unit risks is that the 3% will take effect on implementation of the contract and not retroactive. That's the true risk that the extended bargaining
Well,
or bargaining process entails.
We really don't take that risk, because you'll notice that man sitting right there records every one of these meetings, and we have Barbara on tape telling us that we will get retro. He can pull up the tape for you if you'd like to
Well,
see
the
it.
firefighters got retro
I'd like
pay,
to see
didn't
that,
they?
because I can guarantee you I never said
It
that.
was at the meeting, when we were in the back building behind Road and Bridge. You
Okay.
walked out the door and said, we will get retro. It's on the tape. You got that tape handy?
I'd like to see
Look,
that.
let's.
My
let's,
computer.
We're having we're really wasting time.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, we're wasting everybody's
Yes.
time. You know, the county proposal is not a reflection of our opinions about the value of what you do for the county. Please don't mistake the proposal for that. What the proposal reflects is the appropriation made by the Board of County Commissioner for wage increases for this year and looking into next year.
And it's not us, like you said, we are representing the people. The
I
people
understand
don't
that.
want this.
Okay.
We've taken it to the people like you have asked us to do, and 100 of them said, okay, take the 3%, the rest said no.
Okay.
Out of 1,200 people. So we have to bargain for them.
You've got to bargain for them and you've got to decide what to do with their input. I don't dispute that at all. And that may lead you to the point where you will reject our proposal, but it remains our proposal.
Where is the, is there any movement on senior rates?
There is
No.
not.
Is there a reason for that? Knowing full well that this local union as well as this negotiating committee is insisting on seeing some movement on senior rates.
There are no additional reasons other than the ones that I have exhaustively discussed over the last couple sessions, and that is that what you're wanting is a blanket statement that says, if we don't work anything out with the departments, it's seniority. We're saying, and we've been willing to say over and over, that we'll look at it by department, we'll see what you want, we'll have meetings and committees, and you're unwilling to do that. So we are not willing to agree to a blanket statement where we're unsure of the impact. That remains our position.
Okay. All right, so where do you want to go from here?
Identify which, and make certain we agree what articles have been TA'd and which are open, and which additional articles that fall in between those two that have been discussed and resolved can be TA'd today. And that's why Barbara's divided these into a couple of category stacks for that purpose.
So what I'm hearing is you want to pull Article 20 back out of the initial stack. So let's move 20 over to the unresolved stack, and then.
Well, we've already TA'd it, but apparently you're withdrawing your TA
Yeah.
from either.
That's correct.
I have a signed document, but it's different than the one that we've signed.
Well, I added the designee anyway, so I had changed it, regardless of the other language that apparently is in dispute. I absolutely was changing something in section 1, so it needs to come out anyway. So that leaves us, the articles that had previously been TA'd, if we're working from the same list.
What did you change in section 1 of Article 20?
I added the word or designee, the step 1 grievance. And actually added that several times throughout. So step 1, it's assistant county administrator or designee. Step 2 is a county administrator or designee, which I think it already said actually. So I just added or designee to the document. But again, we'll move that over at this point to our discussion items so that we can probably resolve the other ones. So do you want to use one?
We've been passing, we have the initial ones?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I had the initial ones, but I left them in my office.
Okay.
Because we need to read them anyway. He has them.
Just let's put the TA stack there.
All right. So do you want me to initial them now? Is that okay?
Oh, I'll go ahead. Okay. All right, so.
Did you do that? Oh, we have to. Look at his. All right, so then that's this here. I'll read that.
Another question. Is it true?
What's going on with the table of contents, just out of curiosity?
That'll have to be updated. What, the way that is now is it's linked to the contract pages. So it will automatically update at the end, so we'll clean that up.
I'll ask again, I've never heard you object to it, but, are you still, okay with alphabetizing?
Well, you were going to do that.
I understand that.
Okay.
And then, we ran out of time last time. So the answer is yes.
Whatever the format is, what comes first or last doesn't make any difference.
Well, I mean, you're not expecting me to sign off on table of contents, right?
No, of course.
They'll put in TA.
Substantive one, starting with the preamble.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't you usually put recognition first though, in a, I've never seen one alphabetized. I'm not saying it's not,
It's quite common.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I haven't either, but.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, when I first saw it, I didn't think it was, I thought it was peculiar, to be quite honest. And then I'm seeing it more and more, and I've become accustomed to the point where I love it.
It's fine, I mean, it makes sense, I just.
look up seniority, I go right to the S's, and it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm,
If it was,
I
if it was
think it
gonna be
makes
put in
sense
by
other
most
than-
of
I know that interim step of having to look at the table of contents and then go to that page is kind of tough, but.
It's not that it's tough, it's just that if you.
We're gonna be spending a lot of time on the seniority, but we're gonna be looking at
As I
it
said,
a
if we're gonna
lot.
put them in order of importance, I guess seniority would be the first one anyway. But I didn't come up with the idea. There was other unions and other bargaining units that, I've seen it done, and like I said, I've actually heard one attorney during bargaining say, I don't understand your contract, Teamster, why do you got articles all over the employees? And I'm like, because that's just the way we do it. And then it, explained to me how it really is a convenience to have things alphabetized, so.
Well, the true convenient contract is the one that has all of the union rights in one spot.
I get that.
All
I
of
get
the
that. That's
wages.
where I come from.
All of the
I
benefits.
come from Master
all
Freight.
packaged
I
in-
come from a contract that's
Yeah.
50+ years old. And yeah, sure, recognition is right off the bat.
Now,
Union
electronically-
security clause is right in the first couple of pages.
Electronically, you can search for any word you want.
Yeah, most people have a contract book, and it's just a matter of convenience. It just becomes an easier document for the rank and file to use. When you're out in the field and you want to look up what your rights are and pull up your contract book. And again, I didn't create this idea. I'm embracing it. Someone else's idea. Someone else's pretty good idea. Anyway, I'm hearing you're not opposed to it, right?
nope, I'm not supposed to, I don't think so.
As long as you do your work.
Why don't we just have your secretary do it and charge you?
Doesn't work that way.
I can try to.
I like the idea, but it doesn't work that way.
They're charging us to take out union dues, have Roland type it up, and we'll charge them all the salary.
I can go through these pages here that I'm ready to sign. I mean, I bet I've already signed. And we can just use this as a document, if that's the way you want to do it. Preamble I've signed. Want to do these one at a time, or?
Yeah, that's fine, yep, I'll confirm
All
in here,
right,
for that.
so-
Yep, we'll sign them, record the file, and I'll.
You'll
make sure they're all
check
right.
them.
Yep, exactly.
I'll initial them.
I'll just turn them upside down here.
Yeah, he'll put those there, and then we'll make a copy. Yep.
Okay.
You want 2 copies original, or just one, and we'll make a copy?
Let's just make a copy.
Okay. Go ahead, you good? That's 2.
Recognition.
Yep, good.
Just cause for discipline, which is Article 3. I see some new word language than last time we were together, where there's the inclusion of alcohol and drugs and workplace violence.
Right, well, because what you wanted added was that previous discipline wouldn't count for progressive discipline. And so we added the, additional language that gave you somewhat of what you wanted, but said unless it's related to substance abuse or domestic or violence. Those are where we're not willing to. So this was a move on the county's part toward what we wanted.
Did you say domestic violence or just violence?
Employee violence, I'm sorry, it was just
It
violence.
says workplace in there.
Workplace violence.
Any type of workplace violence.
I think I accidentally did say that.
Don't bring up the commissioner.
Huh?
I was gonna bring up the commissioner if it was domestic violence, never mind, I'm sorry. Let's keep on track.
That'll help us get your contract right.
Yeah.
He's leaving.
Yeah.
But, I mean, workplace violence typically there some,
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example of one where we didn't terminate the guy, but it was, you know, I'd probably give you a couple of them.
So you're saying if we added a clause that said that any incident of workplace violence results in termination, you're gonna agree to that?
no, I'm not saying that,
All
I'm
right,
saying
then let's
strike out
not-
the language that you put in there, Jim, if that's what you want. if that's-
Well, it's just it's a liability thing for us. I mean, you know, I mean,
John, this was compromise. This was, you wanted written reprimands older than 5 years not to count. And this was our way of giving you that language, but tempering it with a couple of categories that don't fall into never get reviewed again.
Right.
But 5 years and 7 years was not initial proposal.
So,
All right, Article 4.
well, let's stay on 3%.
Well, we haven't agreed, I mean, they haven't agreed to three.
So it's open.
It's open, yeah, so we're,
I mean, if there's something else you want to talk about,
No, just want
No,
to
you don't-
confirm on the record that it remains open and you're not gonna agree to it.
I didn't say it wasn't going to
Hands
agree
on
to it,
out,
it's just
yes.
open.
Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't say I wasn't going to agree to it, I said it's still open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Article 4, management rights, we're teed
Yep.
that already, we're going to sign
Correct.
off a bunch of it. As well as Article 5, drug-free workplace, which is the status quo.
Okay, now just so that you know, drug-free workplace was not one that was previously TA'd, but we did agree to go back to the status quo, so then now we're TAing this, this is
The
what I
status
agreed to.
quo.
Right, okay, which is fine, that's fine. I'm gonna pull this out of this pile, move it under here.
You're kidding.
Article 6 is the status quo for past practices.
Yep.
See that?
Still want to TA this, right? Okay.
Why do you ask?
I asked because we gave you a proposal on wages that addresses the shuttle fee surcharge.